Here on Facebook Live with Mr. Sofka, and this is the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. We're happy to be here with you every single Wednesday in hour number 2. We're giving you fantasy advice for Week 8 in the NFL, and we are thankful to the Wildcat, which is the place to watch all of the games. I want to thank everybody that's been going out there week by week. I have been there every single weekend since the start of the NFL/college football season. I've been dedicated to going out there on Saturday or Sunday, sometimes both, and supporting the Wildcat. So I appreciate those that do as well, and we thank you so much. With that being stated, let's bring the man of the hour in. Mr. Sofka, how are we doing?
I'm doing awesome. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing well. And Mike, how is the weather down in Florida right now? What's the weather like down in the great state of Florida, and what can you tell us about it? Is it what we expect it to be? Is it a little bit cooler? I know we're finally starting to feel the fall up here.
Well, right now it's 81 in Central Florida, so it's nice. It's beautiful weather. I'm shorts, T-shirt. I'm watching football, and the Bronco game. They're playing in snow. Yeah. I'm watching TV last night, and people outside, out and about in the northeastern states are wearing. It's 10 degrees. They're wearing gloves and. I'm thinking, I don't know, it's kind of warm for a shirt. Maybe I won't do a shirt today.
Yeah, it must be nice to be able to do something like that. You got to crank the heat up pretty high if you're going to take the shirt off up here, and you got to stay indoors. But we definitely, I've appreciated it. I got no complaints about the weather whatsoever up here. We had a fantastic, fantastic summer, and we had 90s galore. So I'm going to take it. Appreciate it for all that it has been. And, I'm a fall baby, so I look forward to the fall, and I look forward to the opportunity. So with that being said, speaking of looking forward to and having opportunities, Mike and I are here to carry you through the rest of this when it comes to fantasy football, to let you know everything about Week 8. Mike and I are always dedicated to, like I said, answering your questions on your specific team. So if you have a thought or anything comes up that you need that, maybe you need us to cover a little bit deeper because you're choosing between two quarterbacks or running backs or whatever it may be, you can make sure to send us a message and get in touch with us. You can always get in touch with us on social media at WakeUpCallDT on Facebook, at CallDT on Twitter, at WakeUpCall_DT on Instagram. You can respond to our post that we put up. You can also get in touch with Mike Sofka at HallOfFameFantasyFootball.com. And, of course, you can reach us both simultaneously on the Winning Fantasy Football group on Facebook. So, with all of that being said, Mr. Sofka, I am ready. The slate is ready to go. And so, without further ado, let's rock right into this thing, and let's start talking about these fantasy matchups that we have for Week 8 inside of the NFL. We will start with Thursday Night Football, as we always do when there is a Thursday night game. That's where we go. Then we take you through Sunday at 1 o'clock, Sunday in the afternoon, mid-afternoon around the 4 o'clock games, and then we take you to Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football where applicable. We bring you through that entire schedule. So with all that being said, Mr. Sofka, I now hand the reins over to you for you to take this and let us know your thoughts on the upcoming matchup that we have here. And the first one of the week that we have is going to be Atlanta at Carolina for Thursday night. What do you have for this?
Yeah, well, the Falcons are coming off the girlfriend game. Let me explain what the girlfriend game is for those of you who don't know that. Not all of us are blessed to have, fantasy champions as our spouses like I do. And some of us have the girlfriend who really doesn't care, doesn't want to watch football, is just kind of there for the beer and the nachos and to spend time with you, next to you on the couch. And they see Todd Gurley running for the end zone, and then he stops, and then he accidentally scores, and then he's mad that he scored. And the girlfriend starts peppering you with questions like, why didn't he score? I thought the idea was to score. Yeah. It is what it is, all right? That's what happened. And the Falcons figured out a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. It was amazing that they lost that game. I didn't think they were going to lose that game. But again, somehow we see again the Falcons can't hold it together in the fourth quarter. Both teams, the Falcons and the Panthers, coming off losses. And, there is some fantasy value here in this game, but thank goodness this game's on Thursday night, because that makes me want to watch it, because there's no other game on. If this was a 1 o'clock game, sorry. All right, I'm going to get right into it here. The Atlanta Falcons, I got Matt Ryan, number 12, on the rankings this week. Todd Gurley, the man who tried not to score but accidentally scored, is number 13 on the running back rankings. Julio Jones is 9, Calvin Ridley's 15, and Hayden Hurst is 13. I'm going over to Carolina, and Teddy Bridgewater, I think he's going to have an excellent game here because that Atlanta secondary is kind of, well, they're not what they need to be, quite frankly. Teddy Bridgewater, number 8 on the rankings. There's a chance Christian McCaffrey can come back to this game. The team's not wanting him to get back yet. He's wanting to get back. He was designated to return. They got 21 days to put him in, and I don't know. Right now, I've got him cautiously ranked at number 16. Even if he does go in, I think we're going to see some Mike Davis, who's ranked number 32 on the rankings. DJ Moore, 12. Robbie Anderson, 5 on the wide receiver rankings, and I can't play any of the tight ends on Carolina. You know, there's some money on both sides of the ball here, but I'm going to have to go with the Panthers at home.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on with my writing tool, but it was like an Etch-a-Sketch, and it was everywhere. But and it's doing it again. So thank you to that for making it all fun and good. I'm gonna try to circle this game again, and it's not gonna let me. So let me do the circle. There we go. Oh, okay. It looks like a little bunny. I don't know what it is, but anyways, let's get into it. Atlanta at Carolina. My fantasy value for Atlanta, I don't trust Carolina's defense, but I trust Atlanta's less. So I would say Matt Ryan's not a bad play for this. Todd Gurley as well. Calvin Ridley also worth the play. Hayden Hurst, I didn't think I'd be sold on him completely anywhere because he got ousted by Mark Andrews, and I'm not really certain about him in Atlanta either. So I put him as a low-end 1, a high-end 2. I know people want to put him out there hoping that he's going to break, but I don't see a lot coming from him. On the other side, Teddy Bridgewater, this is a good week to play him, especially if you're looking at your team and saying, oh, I have Kyler Murray, or I have Gardner Minshew, or Deshaun Watson, one of those guys that's going to be on bye week. Teddy Bridgewater, not a bad play for this. Mike Davis, because of who he's going up against. Christian McCaffrey, and he could, he is. The hope is that he'll return sometime soon, and we're just awaiting when that's going to be. He's not ruled out for Thursday, but that's kind of a wait and see. If he does play, then obviously you got to put him out there. If he doesn't, then it's Mike Davis. DJ Moore, I like him. Robbie Anderson is a flex guy. And, Ian Thomas this week, because he's playing Atlanta, I don't think it's a bad matchup for the tight end. So I would say that to you as well. The next game that we have up on the docket here, Mr. Sofka, and I'm going to try to bounce away from this and then bounce back to it and try and get this Etch-a-Sketch from happening. But the Patriots are playing against the Bills. The Patriots just had their worst home margin of loss ever in the Bill Belichick era, and it was to the quarterback that Bill and company let go in Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco. What are your thoughts on San Fran going to New England, going to Foxborough, and taking down the team that Jimmy G used to play for, and giving New England their most lopsided loss ever in the Bill Belichick era, and then New England now having to go play Buffalo?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I felt bad for New England. I felt bad for Belichick. I felt bad. No, I didn't feel bad. It's the Death Star. It's the bad guys. It's Darth Vader. It's the whole, the whole, they're the bad guys. We're finally, the only thing that would make it sweeter is if Tom Brady was still playing in New England for folks, because folks that's what happens when you dominate anything in life or anything. There's a bunch of haters out there, and that's what happens. It comes with the territory. Look, I'd like to say they're going to bounce back, but I don't see how they can bounce back. But then again, the Bills didn't look too good against the Jets. The Bills, thank goodness they had 6 field goals from Tyler Bass, inching out 18-10 victory. I don't think either one of these teams is playing up to their abilities right now. But I still think Buffalo is the better team here. Let me just get into it. Josh Allen, he's probably the number 3 ranked quarterback on my rankings. I say probably because, well, I don't know. Is he going to let his kicker kick 6 field goals, or is he going to run for some touchdowns? I think he's going to bounce back this week. I got him number 3. The running backs, Devin Singletary is number 22 on the rankings. Zach Moss, number 46. I think that this is no longer more of a timeshare because Zach Moss missed some time, and then again, he's a rookie, so it's going to take till the end of the year almost before Zach Moss is really up to speed. With that being said, he's going to have 4 touchdowns and 200 yards this week. Stephon Diggs, number 6 on the wide receiver rankings. John Brown dinged up a little bit. Cole Beasley, number 28. I can't really start any tight ends from Buffalo because, well, none of them really excite me. Dawson Knox, Tyler Croft, nothing's happening for me there. I go over to New England, and New England, of course, has some players, but they didn't play last week. They took the week off. They took a bye week last week. Cam Newton looked horrible. He looked like a junior high school quarterback. His throws were way off. He looked lost out there. Cam Newton, number 16 this week. I think he's going to have a bounce-back game. I'm not sure it's going to be enough. And I can't start Damian Harris, James White. I don't know if these guys are going to show up. They're a flex or an RB3 for you. Julian Edelman might be an emergency flex, and I can't start any tight ends. With that being said, I'm going to take Buffalo at home.
Yeah, I think that New England, obviously they got exposed, and by a team in San Fran that's still a little bit of an enigma. You don't know exactly what they're going to be when all shakes out toward the ends of this season. So, I would say that seeing what San Fran was able to do against New England, Buffalo is a better team. And I do believe that. I know Buffalo has had some moments. I know Buffalo struggled against the Jets and had to kick 6 field goals, but at the end of the day, they got the job done, and they at the end of this all emerged with a victory. And that is all that matters at the end of this all, is that they got what they needed to get. They got out of there with a win. So let me start with New England as far as fantasy value goes. Cam Newton got me 2 points this week in fantasy, this past week. So that is not a fun thing to look at, not something to be happy about. Jarrett Stidham got into the game in the fourth quarter. I don't trust that quarterback situation, so I'd stay away from it. I don't trust the running backs either, so I'd stay away from that. Julian Edelman is a flex play for me, a low-end 2, high-end 3 at wide receiver, and N'Keal Harry is questionable for the game. If he is able to play, then he is below Julian Edelman, in my opinion, as a flex position guy. I don't see a lot of fantasy value with New England. I think it all leans on Buffalo's side. I like Josh Allen in this. I like Devin Singletary. I like Zach Moss. I like Stephon Diggs in the game as well. Because John Brown is injured right now and questionable, if he does not play, that increases the value for Cole Beasley and Gabriel Davis, 2 flex guys that can help you out in a bind. Cole might be out there on the waiver wire in free agency. Gabriel Davis might be out there in free agency and waiver as well. So look to them, and I would play the Buffalo defense and special teams. I am taking the Bills to win this game. I believe that Buffalo is going to take advantage. I don't even want to say take advantage. Buffalo's the better team in this game, and they're going to win. That's what I think. Tennessee at Cincinnati. What do you have for this?
Yeah, Tennessee, I feel bad kind of for them the way that game ended. Gostkowski missing a field goal to beat, or to at least tie Pittsburgh, I should say, and it just didn't happen. I still like Tennessee. I still think they're a viable option in the AFC, but, the Steelers are just unstoppable right now, but we'll get to them a little bit later. The Titans look good across the board most of the time. You can always get some fantasy points from these guys, and they're led by Derrick Henry, number 2 running back on my rankings. Ryan Tannehill is going to have a great game as well against Cincinnati, number 11 on the quarterback rankings. Going over to wide receiver, I actually have A.J. Brown, number 20. That's down a little bit from where I think he needs to be, but Jonnu Smith, he's the red zone guy. He's the touchdown vulture. And Anthony Fursker as well, number 8 and number 25, respectively, on my rankings. Cincinnati's going to have a tough time keeping up, but that's okay because that's going to produce fantasy points. When both teams are trying to score a lot, that's good for fantasy players. Joe Burrow, number 7 on the quarterback ranking. Joe Mixon, number 7 as well, 7 and 7. Giovanni Bernard's going to be an RB3 or a flex in a PPR league. A.J. Green, 33 on the rankings. Tyler Boyd, 14, and T. Higgins, 32. So I like that spread there. And with Joe Mixon coming back, Giovanni Bernard still in the mix, Joe Burrow should have an excellent game. That's why he's a QB1 this week. I like Tennessee on the road. I just think they're going to – hey, and this is my lock of the week against the spread, by the way. The line's only 6. I think Tennessee's going to smoke Cincinnati. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think they're going to win by at least 8-9 points.
Yeah, this is going to be, to me, it's going to be an interesting game because I believe that Cincinnati can score, and obviously Tennessee could score, but the other side of it is can Cincinnati defend? And that answer to me, as of right now, is no. That's why I have Tennessee winning this game as well. I do think there's fantasy value in Cincinnati, but let's go to Tennessee first, as they are the road team that's coming into town. So Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill in this matchup, because he's playing Cincinnati, I think that he is a quarterback 1 for you this week, and a potential play. He's a mid to low range 1. But again, if you have Deshaun Watson off, if you have somebody with an injury, if you don't have Gardner out there because it's a bye week, this is a time to look to Ryan Tannehill. I like Derrick Henry in the game as well. A.J. Brown had himself a good time last week. Corey Davis is a flex, and Adam Humphries also a flex because of who they're playing. Jonnu Smith and Anthony Ferkshire, like you said, looking at them both, Anthony, where this could kind of shake out, I still think it's Jonnu, so I would play Jonnu in this one. I am as a low-end tight end 1. Joe Burrow on the other side, I still think he's worth the play. He got me almost 70 points in fantasy this past week, so I don't think he's a bad play. I do think Tennessee's defense is obviously better than Cleveland, and I think that, Cleveland can create takeaways and whatnot, but I would be more concerned fantasy-wise with what they can do. If you don't lose points for interceptions, you don't lose points for, certain things on there, then I would say that Joe Burrow is worth the play for you. A.J. Green on the other end is back as the number 1 guy. I look at him as a wide receiver 2. T. Higgins as a wide receiver 3, and that's where it all lies. Joe Mixon is on the report, questionable with a foot injury. If he is able to play, I would temper your expectations, but he's a low-end wide running back 1 for you this week in this game. But like I said, I'm taking Tennessee. I think they're too much. Mike, for everybody that just jumped in and whatnot, let's go back to the Atlanta-Carolina game. And just a quick note here, who did you have for Atlanta and Carolina as far as just your pick for the game?
Yeah, Carolina. That Atlanta secondary is too soft. Definitely Carolina.
So Mike and I, just to make note here, we have agreed all the way through on Carolina over Atlanta, Buffalo over New England, and Tennessee over Cincinnati. The only road team we picked so far is Tennessee. The Las Vegas Raiders up against the Cleveland Browns. Thoughts on this one?
Yeah, these two teams have something in common based on their game last week. Both of them lost the game by allowing their opponent to score 20 or more points in the fourth quarter. That's ridiculous. You're not going to win many football games. I might even say take the M away and make it any football games when you let your opponent score that many points. Cleveland, that was almost half the points scored in the game. So there's some fireworks going to go off in this game here. Let's take a look. Let's go to Vegas first there, the visitor. Las Vegas, I think Derek Carr is going to be able to put up some numbers. There's going to be 3 guys you're definitely going to want to play from the Raiders. Derek Carr, he's the number 13 ranked quarterback. Again, just outside that QB1 zone, but I think he has the ability to go off. Now, Myles Garrett could have something to say about it, but we'll see. Josh Jacobs, number 8 running back, and Darren Waller, number 3 tight end. I can't really start any of the receivers. They're all in the 50s. Ruggs, Renfro, Aguilar, they're all Brian Edwards is dinged up. I'm looking over at the other side, though, at Cleveland. They had a big loss. Odell Beckham goes down. You expect Jarvis Landry to step up. Jarvis Landry's been Casper the Ghost most of the year for you, though, so hoping he does step up. I've got him ranked at 27 this week. Rashard Higgins at 45. Austin Hooper at 21. Here's where the power is. Kareem Hunt, number 3. Dearness Johnson's gone away. We're still waiting for Nick Chubb to be designated for a return. And Baker Mayfield, number 18 quarterback. So I think you could, score some fantasy points here. This is going to be a tough pick because both these teams can allow a lot of points. So this game could, just like their last games, could go either way in the fourth quarter by a collapse. Maybe they're tired. I don't know the situation. Tired's not an excuse if you ask me. If you're going to let your opponent score 20 or more points, maybe they'll both do it. Maybe we'll have a 40-point fourth quarter. I got Cleveland winning this one at home.
Yeah, I think, Cleveland obviously has come out and shown some good things. I mean, they put themselves in a place where, they're not terrible this season. They've looked better than they have in the past. But, what does that say about them overall? I mean, how are they going to last in this with Pittsburgh being the lone undefeated team in the nation at 6-0, and that's above Baltimore, that's above Kansas City, that's above everybody. And so all the NFC, Seattle lost as well. So looking at that and knowing that, we still have a Cleveland Browns team that is 5-2, and they're right behind the Baltimore Ravens. And 3 of 4 teams in the AFC North have a winning record. Cincinnati's 1-5-1 with that tie coming against Philadelphia. So this is a tough game to choose because we have seen the Vegas Raiders go and beat the Kansas City Chiefs. But we've seen Cleveland falter. The question that comes down to it is, who do we believe can score more points? So let's look at the fantasy side of things and get it rocking and rolling on my end. For the Vegas Raiders, Derek Carr, like Mike said, not a bad play in this game because he's playing Cleveland. And you have him at 13th. And so, yeah, I don't see him as a top tier quarterback, but in this, and for this week and whatnot. But I do think, again, if you have somebody that's off or they're injured and whatnot, or maybe you lean on Cam Newton and you don't know what's going to happen there, Derek Carr could be the play for you this week. Josh Jacobs, definitely worth the play. Henry Ruggs, a big fan of Mr. Ruggs and doing his thing. Like to see him here. He was quiet in the game recently, but I do think that he is worth a wide receiver 3 or a flex. I do think he could become a wide receiver 2 for you. It's just going to take some time. Darren Waller is worth the play as well up against the Cleveland Browns. But I think the more fantasy value lies on Cleveland, and that's why I, like Mike, I'm picking Cleveland as well in this game, because I think the value is more on their side in this matchup. So with that being said, I think the value lies in the matchup with Kareem Hunt. I think Dearness Johnson is a flex, but Kareem has been doing a good job. Jarvis Landry now has stepped up with Odell Beckham Jr. being out for the season, and God bless to him on a speedy recovery, but he is currently out. Rashard Higgins comes up here, and the opportunity for Tywan Taylor and Donovan Peoples-Jones. I mean, this is kind of an open doorway right now when it comes to who is going to be the next guy in Cleveland, but that gives more value to Jarvis Landry. And Mike, I believe, warned you a couple weeks ago that people were dropping Jarvis Landry, and he said, I'm not ready to give up on him. Well, all it took was one injury, and now he's the number 1 receiver in Cleveland. So hopefully you didn't let him go. He's there too. David Njoku is also worth the play here, as Austin Hooper is out, and Austin hasn't really done a great job. So I like David Njoku and what he can do, and he's resurgent, and maybe he's auditioning for other teams, but as of right now, he's a Cleveland Brown, and I believe he's worth the play. So I'm going to give Cleveland the edge in this game. I do think both teams can score. I think both teams could do some good things, but ultimately, when push comes to shove, Cleveland, to me, has got just a little bit more, and that's why I'm going to give them a little more of an edge in this matchup. Next one that we have on the docket, Mr. Sofka, to discuss for fantasy Week 8 here as we get everything set up and rocking and rolling here on the board for you to see it on the big board, is the next game that I want to go to, Mike, is going to be Indianapolis at Detroit. What do you have for this?
Yeah, Indianapolis coming off the bye. Detroit coming off sneaking that game out against Atlanta, we talked about that earlier with the Gurley score. I like Indianapolis on paper. I think Detroit's winning games they're not supposed to. This game's going to be interesting. Indianapolis, I think Phillip Rivers is struggling a little bit. I'm real concerned about the direction of this team. They just need to run the ball, and they're going to run the ball behind Jonathan Taylor, number 6 on the rankings. Naeem Hines, 33, so there's your flex, especially in a PPR league. T.Y. Hilton's done nothing but disappoint this year, and, well, that's sort of because of the quarterback situation. Phillip Rivers is disappointed, so they kind of go hand in hand. T.Y. Hilton, number 37 receiver, and Phillip Rivers, number 20. Trey Burton. We talked about Mo Alley Cox, Jack Doyle in years past here, and Trey Burton coming in out of nowhere. Now he's the de facto number 1 tight end. So in a touchdown-only league, tight end, he might be a guy to target. He's number 18 on the rankings. Doyle, 35. Mo Alley Cox, 43. Shifting over to Detroit. I think Detroit's going to try to heavily pass the ball to T.J. Hawkinson and Kenny Golladay, because those are the two big threats they have. Matt Stafford, number 17 on the rankings. Kenny Golladay, as I spoke of, number 8. T.J. Hawkinson, number 10 tight end this week. I can't really start any other wide receivers for Detroit, and we're seeing that passing of the torch. We're seeing DeAndre Swift getting more touches, getting more targets. He's getting more red zone looks. So that gradual shift is happening. DeAndre Swift, number 18 on the running back rankings, and Adrian Peterson, 36. I'm looking at this game. It's in Detroit. Indianapolis isn't having good quarterback play behind Phillip Rivers. They can run the ball. The problem is I don't know if Detroit can stop that run, but I don't care about that. I'm going to take some home field magic. I'm going to take Detroit having that horseshoe in their back pocket from last week. They're going to use that horseshoe against the team with the horseshoe on their helmet, the Colts. I'm going to take Detroit in the upset.
Yeah, and I don't even know if we could call this an upset, Mike. I mean, I know that the record for Indianapolis still has them in the running, which I believe they would be with Tennessee, but for the AFC South. But the reality of it all is they're not that great this season, and they're not giving me much of anything to write home about. And if you didn't know that Phillip Rivers was was interception prone, you know now. If you didn't know that he made those mistakes and, that could cause some ruckus, well, you now know that as he has changed scenery a little bit. I'm taking Detroit in this game because I believe that Detroit is the better team in this game. The fantasy value for me lies with Jonathan Taylor. Flex Nyheim Hines, I agree with. And, we look at Jonathan Taylor over 100 yards from scrimmage last week. T.Y. Hilton, as you said, receivers go as the quarterbacks go. So T.Y. Hilton, it's a hard guy to keep off. He had one catch against the Bengals. So, the reality of it all is, do you put him out there? Can you put him out there? I think it's, if you don't, he could go off, but I think he gets relegated to a wide receiver 2, high-end 3 right now until that gets figured out. Probably a 2. Trey Burton, that we sing the praises of him, played quarterback, went to Florida, obviously won a Super Bowl through a touchdown pass to Nick Foles of the Eagles against the Patriots. So for me, I think Trey Burton's worth the play coming off of 2 scores. And then on the other side of it for Detroit, I like Matt Stafford in this game because I don't trust the defense of the Colts. DeAndre Swift, I put him on my bench. He made me pay. I brought him out of my bench right after he made me pay and played him last week, and he helped me get to some payday. So from making me pay to payday, thank you, DeAndre Swift. Keep doing your thing and rocking it. Keep it going. The running backs are healthy, and so it's not like an injury guy, but it's what do you do here? And who do you start? I think DeAndre Swift is the guy you got to go with right now. Kenny Golladay, I like him in this game as well. Marvin Jones as a flex guy, and T.J. Hawkinson, hard to keep him on your bench right now as you anticipate that he's going to continue to help the team out. So I like Detroit in this matchup, and I also like Detroit's defense and special teams, not for minimizing the points scored, but Phillip Rivers and creating takeaways. That's why I like Detroit's defense in this game. Minnesota at Green Bay, Mr. Sofka, what do you got?
Yeah, I got a response to Kirk Cousins. You know how back in the day he was, you like that? You like that? I'll give you the answer, Kirk. No, we don't like it. You've been playing like crap. Nobody likes it. Start playing. You're ranked number 25 on my rankings this week. Dalvin Cook is the guy they're going to run behind, no, of course. He should be fully healthy. Number 5 on the rankings this week. Look for a big week from Dalvin Cook. Adam Thielen as well, 11. And Justin Jefferson, 16. Kyle Rudolph, I can't really play a tight end there, Irv Smith or Kyle Rudolph. I wouldn't be surprised if Kyle Rudolph got moved before the trade deadline coming up here. So if you have him on your team, I don't know why you would, especially if you've been listening to us. But if you have him, buyer beware there. You know now. Green Bay is where the money's at in this game. Devontae Adams, number 1 receiver on the board this week. You can't play any other receiver from Green Bay. But you can't play Aaron Jones. Sat out last week, and they still beat Houston. Minnesota, by the way, coming off the bye. Aaron Jones, number 4 on the running back rankings. And Aaron Rodgers, number 6 on the quarterback rankings. Robert Tonyan, he's a red zone guy. You're in a touchdown-only league, this is the guy you want. He's number 16 on the tight end rankings. I don't think this game's going to be close. I like the Packers going away big in this one.
Yeah, I like the Packers in this game, too. They obviously did not like the way that some things went down in recent history with them, and so they were able to respond. And Minnesota is coming into a buzzsaw right now. After losing to the Bucks 38-10, they made the Texans pay on the road 35-20, and now they have the opportunity to go up against the Vikings. Let's go to the Vikings side of things for fantasy first. As far as who to play in this one, Delvin Cook is questionable. Alexander Madison hasn't done a touch. Mike Boone might be able to help you out a little bit if Madison doesn't get it going, but either one of those guys is a flex guy. Adam Thielen is worth the play. Justin Jefferson hasn't done that bad. If he's a low-end 2, high-end 3 wide receiver. Could be a flex guy if you have some depth. Justin Jefferson, not bad, but Adam Thielen is somebody that obviously you got to put out there. On the other side of it, Aaron Rodgers, got to play him. Aaron Jones right now, questionable for the game. If he can't go, then Jamal Williams gets some value, but so does A.J. Dillon as a flex because of the fact that Jamal Williams isn't a guy you can really trust in running the ball, but that's going to be a questionable thing. Hopefully you have some better opportunities there than Williams and Dillon if it comes down to that. But Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, that's where the money's at. Robert Tonyan, he was limited. Mercedes Lewis and Jay Sternberger on this team as well. Because they're playing Minnesota, any one of those tight ends can score. And so I would lean right now on the side of Tonyan or Sternberger, but that could be a dicey one for you, and you definitely don't want to have to play 2 of them and waste a spot. The values with Rodgers and Devontae Adams, and because Minnesota's in Mr. Rodgers' neighborhood, I'm taking Green Bay in this one big time. And even if they were on the road, I still think they'd get it done. Green Bay, they know what it felt like to lose and lose big to Tampa. They don't want to feel that for the rest of the season. They get the dub. The Jets at Kansas City, speaking of what it feels like to lose, the Jets are the only defeated team in America, 0-7. They're playing Kansas City, who felt that loss, made the king bleed a little bit, and after they felt that little bit of blood on their tongue, they said, yeah, we're done with this. Kansas City is now at home against the Jets. What do you have for this one?
Yeah, I can tell you pretty much in 2 sentences. If you have Jets, don't start them. I don't know why you have Jets. And if you have Chiefs, start those guys, but you already know that. Patrick Mahomes, number 2 on the quarterback rankings. Tyreek Hill, number 7. And Travis Kelce, number 2 on the tight end rankings. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Yeah, Le'Veon Bell's going to cut into the share a little bit. Le'Veon Bell, they're going to give Le'Veon Bell some opportunity to grow in this offense. So, yeah, it's going to be split, but I think it's going to help the team become more productive. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you don't have to jump off a bridge, CEH owners. You don't have Clyde the Glide if you want to go that way. You don't have to worry about him. He's going to be all right. He's number 17 on the running back rankings. Le'Veon Bell, number 30. On the other side of the ball, like I said before, I got all these guys ranked. The highest ranked guy is number 27, Chris Herndon. So I think there's 26 other tight ends you would start before him. So don't start any Jets. Start the Chiefs, and I got the Chiefs going away in this one in a laugher.
Yeah, the best player on the Jets and the only player you can really start in fantasy is Jamison Crowder, and he is currently undergoing a medical evaluation. So Mike's right when it comes to this, and it's an easy one. You start the Chiefs. The Jets' best option is maybe not going to be an option this week. Pat Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Le'Veon Bell is a flex. If you picked him up, you could throw him in there. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. You play them all. You play the Kansas City defense and special teams. Kansas City coming away with a victory. This could be a 38-10 game, speaking of that. And by the way, shout out to my family in Spain who has supported me for years. Jose Carracao Gutierrez, thank you so much to the family, and thank you so much for watching the show. I appreciate you, and I send my love to each and every single one of you. And if you have fantasy in Spain, I hope we're helping you out. And if you don't, I'd be more than happy to bring fantasy football, the American football, to Spain. I'd be more than happy to bring some fantasy love over there when everything is lifted and I can travel that way. So, with that being stated, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. When Mike and I come back, we will start with the Rams at the Dolphins, and we will carry you through the rest of our Fantasy Football Power Hour, the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. So Mike and I will talk about that right after this. Inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, you are watching and listening to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and I cannot tell you how much Mike and I greatly appreciate that.
City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if they don't shop at Honda City.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily, and we bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant is different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, as well as on Facebook Live. You're watching us right here inside of the Cafe Kubal studios on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT. We're inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, not one of, but the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. When I say we, I mean myself and Mr. Mike Sofka of Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com. You can go there for all of your fantasy football needs in season, going into the season, during the season, all that good stuff. Mike and I will tell you that the season never sleeps and it never stops, so you can use Mike 24/7 for all the different opportunities that he has there and packages and whatnot at Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com. And, of course, you could find us both on our group on Facebook, and that group being the Winning Fantasy Football Group. So make sure that you join us there, and we appreciate everybody that already has. It is very easy to do so. All you have to do is, while you're on Facebook, type in Winning Fantasy Football, click on Join, and all of a sudden, you got us whenever you need us, and you could send us messages about your team specifically. Obviously, watch and listen back to these shows, get the advice that you need, and so much more. So thank you to everybody that's taken us up on that. We appreciate you tremendously for all of that. And for everybody that is jumping in right now, we're more than happy to help you with your fantasy football team. And, of course, you can get us on social media, Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, Twitter at CallDT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT, along with the Winning Fantasy Football Group on Facebook, and, of course, Mike's website of Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com. With all of that being said, Mike, the Rams and the Dolphins are next on the docket. What do you have for this?
Yeah, well, the Dolphins are coming off the bye, and it's Tua time. Ryan Fitzpatrick seemed kind of happy about it, too. He knows his role, and he knows what's going on. And, you know, who's to say? Maybe they need Ryan Fitzpatrick again, but I think Ryan Fitzpatrick has been great for Tua. You can tell he understands his role here as the placeholder. And more importantly, I can see he's been a genuine friend in that quarterback room. You know, he's going to help Tua. And it's great to have the words of wisdom of a Harvard grad that's playing quarterback in the NFL for so many years. And, you know, I know he's been a journeyman and traveled around, but this guy in the ear of Tua is nothing but good news for Miami. Tua ranked number 22 on the quarterback rankings this week. Myles Gaskin, number 14. What an ascension Myles Gaskin has had. He's really, you know, come up the ranks and up the depth chart to prove he's the man there. Number 14, Mike Gesicki, number 15 on the tight end rankings. And I'm not sure I can start the wide receivers with Tua being so new here. I know, he's a great player and all that, but he's going to face a formidable Rams front here. Aaron Donald is no joke. So they're going to test out that hip of Tua right away because, well, I think they're going to be able to put pressure on them. And that pressure is going to help the Rams win because the Rams have taken regression, in my opinion. I think they've stepped back from where they once were offensively. Jared Goff, number 15 on the rankings. Darrell Henderson, 24. Malcolm Brown, 35. Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, 19 and 17, respectively. And Higbee and Everett kind of cannibalizing each other, 20 and 32 on the rankings. Look, I'd like to sit here and tell you it's all sunshine and rainbows and Miami's going to win and Tua's going to play great and all that. It's not going to happen. That just is what it is. I know it's a 1 o'clock game, left coast team to Miami on 1 o'clock, the time difference and the jet lag, all this stuff. I get it. I'm still factoring that in, and LA's still going to win this game. I got the Rams.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about this when we really take a look at it and break it all down is, that Fitz is not on a bad Miami team. You know what I mean? He hasn't led them astray. And so I think the timing of this is off. And I know I've talked to some people about this, that I don't really know how I feel about the fact that, you would take a guy and say, hey, we're 3-3, we're behind Buffalo, we're above New England, we're above the Jets, and we're going to make a change. I think you ride the hot hand when the hot hand is hot. So, I do like Tua. I'm a fan of Tua. I want to see Tua. But I also am a fan of Ryan Fitzpatrick, knowing that he's coming closer to the tail end of his career than the beginning of it. And, he hasn't done anything wrong. And I'm not for benching people that are productive, that are actually doing good things. So, in that case, I find that a little bit troublesome. Jared Goff, obviously this is a guy who could do some good things on your team. I still think he's a quarterback too, but again, if you have somebody off, he's not a bad play. Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown are both worth the play. In these games, they're both getting looks. I like them both. I like that they're against Miami. So they're not your running back one, but they're both options for you. Cooper Kupp, another guy to look to. Robert Woods and Josh Reynolds. Reynolds a flex. Woods a wide receiver 2. Kupp I would also call a wide receiver, probably low end 1, high end 2 in the grand scheme of things. On Miami side of it, Myles Gaskin, I think you're putting in Tua, you might want to lean on him a little bit more, so Myles Gaskin could be a flex guy for you. And with Devontae Parker being questionable with a groin injury, which we know sometimes those can be nagging, that Preston Williams becomes the number 1 guy. I don't think he's anything more than a flex. I think Mike Gesicki and Myles Gaskin are where your fantasy value lie with bringing in a new quarterback, and I'm going to pick the Rams to win this. I don't think that the Dolphins have enough in this game to get it done. Next up on it, Mike, is a huge, huge, huge game. They could have playoff implications. This could be a game that they come back to and realize did something in the seeding, or maybe it bumped somebody. Maybe it did something in that respect to it. So Pittsburgh and Baltimore, this game is imperative. Pittsburgh is the only undefeated team in the nation. As I had mentioned, it's 6-0. And not only that, the Baltimore Ravens, you're playing in Baltimore. You know that Baltimore's tough. You're going to be on the road. And the Baltimore Ravens have Lamar Jackson and company. They're coming off of a bye, and their team is 5-1. 11-1 between the two. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, first off, I have a memo to the NFL. This is shenanigans. I'm going to call it right now. I want to know why you can change and flex a game last week for potential COVID, but you can't change this game to a Sunday night game, and you're going to make me watch the Cowboys and the Eagles in the NFC least. Are you kidding me? This is the game of the week. This is the game you want to get those numbers in prime time. NFL, you're always about the money. I'm very surprised you haven't figured a way to flex out these games Sunday night so that we can watch the Steelers and the Ravens. That being said, might not be any red zone for me this week. Might be just on the Ravens and the Steelers at 1 o'clock. Looking at the Steelers, I think they're a paper champion. I think they're a good team. I think they're solid, but I think they're getting ready to run into a buzzsaw called the Ravens. Look, I got Ben Roethlisberger, number 21 on the quarterback rankings. week. That Baltimore defense is for real. They've shored up that defensive front with adding Yannick Ngakoue on the other side of Calais Campbell. I just don't see how the Ravens don't get after Ben. Well, hopefully they're going to be able to run the ball if you're the Steelers. James Conner ranked number 12 on the running back rankings. Eric Ebron, 14 for the tight ends. Juju, finally showing up a little bit. Number 21 on the rankings. Deontay Johnson, 31. And Chase Claypool, 29. People are like, well, I thought you said Chase Claypool was a good player. You play. Well, it's going to happen. First of all, he's a rookie. There was no rookie camp. You got to take all this stuff into consideration. These guys are going to be hot and cold, up and down, as they're getting that timing down with the quarterbacks. This stuff takes time. They haven't had a lot of time. On the other side of the ball, Baltimore. You got to like Baltimore at home in this game. Lamar Jackson, number 4 on the quarterback rankings. Mark Andrews, number 7 on the tight end rankings this week. Marquise Brown, number 25. He's the only wide receiver from Baltimore I would play. Mark Ingram dinged up. Not sure he's going to run. 47 if he does. J.K. Dobbins, 40. They can't seem to run the ball from the running back position unless it's some guy like Gus Edwards out of nowhere when you're not expecting it. They do have one of the top rushing offenses, though. Of course, that's behind Lamar Jackson. And with that being said, I think that's the way they win the game. I think they run the ball. I think this is a grind-out game. Both of these teams don't like each other. You can throw out the records. You can do all that stuff, division opponents. It comes down to X's and O's. It comes down to, is my athlete better than yours? And if I compare the Pittsburgh offense to the Baltimore offense, I'll take the Baltimore offense. If I compare the defenses, I'll take the Baltimore defense, and that's why Baltimore is going to win this game.
Yeah, this is a tough one, and this is real. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger, they obviously know what it's like to miss him and how different this team is when he comes back. Some teams can function with a different quarterback. Some teams can, get unique and whatnot and showcase what, they could do in a positive way. But there are teams that suffer, and Pittsburgh without him was a shell of themselves with Mason Rudolph and company. So Big Ben's worth the play. James Conner's worth the play. Juju is worth the play, and so is Chase Claypool as a flex, as well as James Washington as a flex. If you did what I did recently and picked up Eric Ebron in free agency, that's another guy to look to at tight end for Pittsburgh. On the other side of it for Baltimore, Lamar Jackson is worth the play. Mark Ingram right now, status is uncertain due to his injury. He has an ankle injury. So J.K. Dobbins hasn't impressed. Gus hasn't been anything to write home about. Either one of these guys is an emergency flex if you have injuries or a bunch of guys on bye weeks. Marquise Hollywood Brown is worth the play for you. Miles Boykin, as we look at him right now, hasn't done a lot. So Marquise Hollywood Brown's really the guy to go to. And Mark Andrews. This is a very, very tough game to choose. This is not an easy one by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm going to pick the Steelers on the road to stay undefeated. I believe in Baltimore. I know Baltimore is strong. But there's something about Pittsburgh right now that I can't go away from. And at 6-0, I believe they go to 7-0. Baltimore goes to 5-2. It makes things ever more interesting as we move forward. Next game up on the docket for us, Mr. Sofka, that we have to do as we come to the tail end of our fantasy advice for Week 8 here inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Open to you in the Home Depot Plaza for dining in, as well as curbside pickup, takeout, and delivery. If you're going to do curbside pickup, takeout, and delivery, call the number 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222. Next game up, the Chargers at the Broncos. The Broncos got absolutely embarrassed by Kansas City at home last week in the snow. They have another divisional game in Denver. What happens in this one?
Yeah, what happens in this one is Justin Herbert's going to continue to look like a Pro Bowl quarterback who's been around. He looks like a veteran. He's comfortable in the pocket. Last week against the Jaguars, 347 through the air and 3 touchdowns. The guy doesn't look like a rookie. The guy looks like the best quarterback to come out of the class so far. I know it's early, but you can't underestimate you can't understate, I should say, what he has done for this team so far. I'm looking at Los Angeles, and it's still odd to say the Los Angeles Chargers, but I got Justin Herbert as a low-end quarterback, number 10 on the rankings. That he's going to be helped by Hunter Henry, number 5 tight end, and number 3 wide receiver, Keenan Allen. Now, Mike Williams is up there, 43, so that's an emergency flex for you. I think Justin Jackson and Joshua Kelly are going to continue this murky committee-type situation. Everybody was on Josh Kelly first, and then everybody went to Justin Jackson because he looked better, and the touches were close. And look, I got them both ranked 20 and 25, so it is what it is. Neither one of them is an RB1. You know what you're getting. You're getting yourself, coverage on a bye week here, but chances are these guys aren't out there on the waiver wire, but maybe they're on your bench. But again, 20 and 25 on the rankings. Going across the other side of the ball on Denver, I don't know that I can play Drew Lock in this game. I'm just not sure that I'm comfortable with that. Melvin Gordon's the guy I'm comfortable with. He's number 15 on the rankings. Noah Fant, number 9. The wide receivers is a mixed bag. The highest ranked one I have is Jerry Jeudy at 35, so there's your flex. I just don't see a lot of value in this game, and Justin Herbert, I like him a lot. Keenan Allen, they got all the higher ranked players, and in order to win in the NFL, you have to have the better players. So I got to go with the team with the better players. That's going to be the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you and pick the Chargers in this one as well. This is not a difficult decision for me to make. Both teams are 2-4, but the Chargers will have the edge over the Broncos as they improve to 3-4, and the Broncos will fall to 2-5 on the season, which will keep Los Angeles in third place behind the Las Vegas Raiders, who are 3-3, and we'll see what they are after all of this week. If they win, then then obviously they'll stay there. If not, then it makes things really interesting. But they're all behind Kansas City, and they're all chasing a team that is looking to get back to the Super Bowl at 6-1. And I believe in Kansas City. I do think Kansas City is going to have a fight from the Pittsburghs and the Baltimores of the world, but I do believe that Kansas City obviously is a team to beat here, and arguably still the number 1 team in the nation, despite the fact that the Steelers are undefeated. Justin Herbert is worth the play in this game. He's playing Denver. He's playing well. I'm very proud of him. I thought he would be the last guy we would see out there of the top guys that were drafted at quarterback this year, just because it didn't seem like they were going to rush off of Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod ended up getting hurt, gave an opportunity to Justin Herbert. He is not disappointed by any stretch of the imagination. I love what he's doing out there. I think he's worth the play. If you can go and somehow, some way get him because somebody let him go, then make sure you do that, but do it like a second ago. Josh Kelly and Justin Jackson are flex guys for you. Keenan Allen is worth the play in the matchup. Hunter Henry, worth the play as well in this game. Mike Williams, not too much going on for him, so I'd probably stay away from that. Donald Parham Jr., who came from the XFL, watch him, because Hunter Henry's there, but Donald Parham scored. And they're playing Denver. So he's a little sneaky. If he can play 2 tight ends, he's a little sneaky one there. He's probably available out there for you. So just remember that I told you about Donald Parham Jr. I like Hunter Henry, but remember the name Donald Parham Jr. I mentioned him before, and I'll mention him again. And I'm saying he's not a bad tight end to put out there and have on your roster as some insurance for you. On the other side of it, Melvin Gordon is worth the play for you in this matchup, and Jerry Jeudy, I don't consider either one of them high. Melvin Gordon's a running back 3. Jerry Jeudy, I agree with Mike, is like a wide receiver 3 or a flex. The value's on the side of the Chargers, and the win is on the side of the Chargers as well. Next one we got up, Mike, is the New Orleans Saints at the Chicago Bears. Chicago hadn't done much. They did save my butt. That defense and special teams off of that fumble return for a touchdown gave me a victory in 2 of my leagues, one of them by just 1 point. So I'm going to shout out Chicago's defense, but that offense continues to look ugly as all sin. And the New Orleans Saints, sin versus Saints, you lean on the side of the Saints, I would think, and they got the offense. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, I might take the under in this game. I think both teams are going to try to just run the ball. And when you run the ball, The game goes a lot quicker. Neither one of these teams are performing like they need to, and that starts with the quarterback on both teams, Nick Foles and Drew Brees. Drew Brees is notorious for not playing as well on the road, and they narrowly escaped with a victory at home against the Panthers last week. The Bears got shown up, of course, to show the paper champion they are. Both teams have winning records, but I look at these teams and I go, how? I look at the quarterback play. I look at the Saints with Michael Thomas being out for so long, and some of it's injury and some of it isn't. Then another injury at a practice that nobody knew about, so all of a sudden he's out again. And it seems like there's a lot of drama in New Orleans right now, and there's a lot of stuff. It's got to be something's going on there, and we just need to. I don't understand how this team is playing this bad. They got the best player in fantasy football, and if not all football, in Alvin Kamara, number 1 running back on the rankings. Latavius Murray, number 38. He's a sneaky red zone and touchdown guy. So if you're in a touchdown only league in a flex, that's your guy. Jared Cook, number 19 on the tight end rankings. Michael Thomas, this is the lowest I've had Michael Thomas ranked, I think, ever. Number 26, and that's if he plays, folks, so watch out for that. I can't play any other receivers. Drew Brees, I can't even play. He's a bottom-end quarterback, too, number 23 on the rankings. But on the Chicago side of the ball, there's some more value fantasy-wise. I'm just not sure it's going to relate to a victory on the field. Nick Foles, number 14 on the quarterback rankings. David Montgomery, number 9. He's more or less solidified that role since Tariq Cohen went on IR. They don't have another answer. Artavius Pierce and Ryan Nall aren't that right hand. They aren't that guy the premium running back there, David Montgomery, a breather for a series, maybe for a play, but not a series. You can't trust those guys. Allen Robinson, number 4 on the rankings. I don't know that I can play Anthony Miller or Darryl Mooney. Jimmy Graham, touchdown and end zone guy. Again, if you're in a touchdown-only league, this is the guy, Jimmy Graham, number 12 on the tight end rankings. I'm going to have to take, and I'm holding my nose doing this, and even though New Orleans is favored by 4 points in this game, I'm going to take Chicago to figure out a way to win this game at home. But I'm going to hold my nose doing it.
Yeah, this game is just, I mean, you look at it, Chicago's 4-2. We look at the fact of the reality is Chicago's not bad record-wise. I mean, when we look at the record of both of these teams, neither one of these teams is atrocious. Neither one of these teams is bad. Again, like you said, Mike, paper champion. But you look at it and you say, okay, well, between the two teams, they have 4 losses combined. That's all they have. 2 losses apiece. Chicago's 5-2. New Orleans is 4-2. So we're talking about 2 teams that are in the hunt for the playoffs. We're talking about 2 teams that aren't that bad, but they haven't looked that good. That's the issue of, are they being figured out? Are teams able to kind of, when a really good team comes along, even if they make the playoffs, is it not reasonable to say they're going to be bumped out? And so that's a question that you ask. Drew Brees is not a quarterback I feel is comfortable playing this week, and that's probably the first time I've said this in years. So, I'm not sold on Drew Brees or Nick Foles. If I had to pick one of them, I'd pick Brees. I'm hoping that in your situation you don't have to pick either one. I think Brees is a low-end 1, high-end 2, probably a high-end quarterback 2. Alvin Kamara is worth the play. Latavius Murray is worth a flex to you, depending on what you have. Jared Cook, tight end situation, I think he's like a tight end 2 or 3 because of the situation. I think the value lies in the run right now. So the reality for me is Kamara with a look at Latavius Murray. On the other side, it's David Montgomery. Cordero Patterson, he's been all over the place, but he hasn't done too much. I think David Montgomery's the guy you got to go with. And then, Mike, I don't disagree with you on Jimmy Graham. Darnell Mooney coming out of Tulane, not a bad guy to look to, but again, it's the quarterback situation with Nick Foles. So I think the value is with Kamara and Montgomery, a little bit to Murray, and some to Jimmy Graham. I'm going to pick New Orleans to figure out a way to win this one, but this game could be 13-10, in all honesty. Last one that we have before we take our final step aside, Mike, in the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York, as well as available to you for curbside pickup, takeout, and delivery by calling 315-487-2222. We have San Fran at Seattle. Is San Fran a contender or a pretender? And what do you think about Seattle on their side, as they are now not undefeated anymore? What are your thoughts on San Fran at Seattle?
Yeah, well, San Fran's got some problems. They got the same problems that the Seahawks have, and that's most people can't name the starting running back on either team, and I'm including fantasy players. You know, they got a large dose of committee. Chris Carson got dinged up bad last week. Not sure if he's going to play. Carlos Hyde should take the reins if that happens, followed by Travis Homer and DJ Dallas. They're going to be the PR magnets. They're going to be the passing down guys. But there's so much up in the air, and there's so much up in the air on the other side of the ball. Raheem Mostert, he's dinged up still. They kept Jerick McKinnon pretty much out of the game last week, trying to save him for this week. But JaMycal Hasty has come out looking great in this game, and he has the opportunity in this game through performance alone. They're going to give him the touches. They're going to give him some targets. He has the opportunity to solidify himself as the number one running back. I think it might happen for San Fran. Think about it. Undrafted rookie out of Baylor. This is huge. He runs with a vision. He runs with a purpose. He can cut. He can put that foot down in the ground and take off. This guy is a big play machine waiting to happen. I'm excited about JaMycal Hasty. You know, Jimmy Garoppolo is number 19 quarterback on the ranking this week. JaMycal Hasty, regardless of who else plays this week, is the number 29 running back. So there's your flex or an RB3 for you. Deebo Samuel dinged up. He's hurt again. These guys get hurt. They stay hurt. And Brandon Ayuk has kind of inched his way up. He's been able to get some playing time because of all the injuries. Brandon Ayuk has slowly come around. I thought he'd be a lot quicker to the take, but he's number 23 ranked wide receiver on my rankings. Kendrick Bourne, 48. George Kittle, number one tight end this week. He's there often. He's always one of the top tight ends. You know that already, though. George Kittle, number one tight end. On the other side of the ball, they got the number one quarterback in Russell Wilson. He's been phenomenal this year. He's leading that Seattle team. I tell you what, they had a heartbreaking loss to the Cardinals, but Kyler Murray and team just played outstanding, especially in the third and fourth quarter, and or I should say overtime as well. I'll tell you what, Seattle's a good team. I think that they should still be undefeated, but they're not. This is the NFL, not for long. Stuff happens. Russell Wilson is not going to change. He's still going to be the number one quarterback this week. Tyler Lockett is a big reason for that. Some outstanding catches in that game last week, some one-handed grabs, some over-the-shoulder stuff that Wilson put right on the money. Tyler Lockett, number 2 wide receiver this week. DK Metcalf, number 10 wide receiver this week. Greg Olson's the touchdown-only play for you at 24 on the rankings. Like I said before, if Chris Carson's healthy, that's the guy. He'll be an RB1. But if not, Carlos Hyde will be like a RB3 or flex player for you. And keep DJ Dallas and Travis Homer on your radar this weekend as we get closer to the game and get an injury status from Chris Carson. I'm going to have to take Seattle at home in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I got to go with Seattle at home as well. Jimmy G, not a bad play for you. Low end 1, high end 2 at quarterback. JaMycal Hasty, I would say a flex guy for you. I don't trust in Jerick McKinnon. The thing that stinks is Jeff Wilson had a hell of a game against the Patriots. 112 yards, 6.6 yards a carry, 17 carries, 3 touchdowns. Hasty had 6.3 yards a carry, 9 carries for 57 yards. But Wilson is hurt, and he's going to be out until around week 12, it looks like, with an ankle injury. So, you know, I would agree that JaMycal Hasty's a guy to pick up. George Kittle definitely on that side. We shouldn't have to tell you that, but we will. On Seattle's side, Russ is the guy to go with, as well as, I mean, we look at their injuries are all over the place. Carlos Hyde is questionable to play, didn't have a horrible game. Chris Carson is questionable to play. Travis Homer is questionable to play. And, outside of that, Rashad Penny is on the PUP list, expected to return in Week 9. So DJ Dallas looks like he's going to get some type of touches in this game. I don't know what you could do with him, and he's playing up against San Fran, and I know they have injuries to their defense, but I would say the value lies in Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf in this matchup, and I'm going to take Seattle to win the game overall in this one. So with that being said, we're going to take our final step aside of the broadcast here before we get you to Sunday and Monday nights. Mike and I bringing you the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. We have Dallas at Philly coming up and Tampa at the Giants. Mike, you talk about flexing games in and out. Why in the hell would they let two primetime games be Dallas at Philly, Tampa at the Giants? There's going to be a clinic on Monday night, and I guess what we know is if your team is struggling but you have Buccaneers playing on Monday night, you got a shot to come back, whether you're down by 2 or by 60. We'll take a step aside for our fast break, and when we come back, Mike and I will wrap up today's broadcast of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We thank you so much for being here, hanging out with us, where sports meets life, inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Truly appreciate each and every single one of you, and we will have much to say about these final two games right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora.
Cafe Cabal Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafecubal.com. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, located on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, is home to over 40 flavors with more than 200 flavors in their total wheelhouse. Sky's the limit for this sweet and savory Central New York company. Keep it local at your parties, fundraisers, wedding showers, baby showers, and more by calling 315-450-MA-PA. That's 315-450-6272 for popcorn bars with custom flavors and colors at your upcoming event. Make sure to visit them on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. And for more information, go to maandpazsnacks.com. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every time. Make sure you download their app on the Google Play or Apple App Store and find your way to them on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York. You can order everything that you need right there on the app, the entire menu at your fingertips. And with contactless pay and a drive-up window, you don't have to get out of your car and do anything other than order your food, pay already, and grab and go. They make it easy and simple. I appreciate them so very much for everything that they bring forward, and I'm very, very thankful for the fact that they are here in our community. And, you know, with their sandwiches named after the families that helped to settle what is today's Pulaski, it just shows you how much they care about the community, how connected they are with the community, and how much the community means to them. Millhouse Market. Now more than ever, it's important to support Central New York and upstate New York, so make sure you do so and find them on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York. Worth the drive every time. With that being stated, we're inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, giving you the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Mike Sofka is on the phones with me. Mike is from Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com. Make sure you go there for all your fantasy needs and the packages that you can pay for to help you win your league. Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com. And, of course, you can go to Mike and I on Facebook. Winning Fantasy Football is the group that is Winning Fantasy Football. Mike, we got 2 more games to go. 2 of the worst games they could have picked. Listen, this is no offense to the franchises by any stretch of the imagination. This is just reality of being a football fan. These are 2 of the worst games that you could ever select. I mean, you want to see Tom Brady, of course, I get that, but 2 of the worst primetime games you could ever pick. How you don't rotate Pittsburgh, Baltimore into one of these, how you don't rotate San Fran, Seattle into one of these is beyond me. Even Tennessee and Cincinnati, because they might make it interesting, or the Patriots and Buffalo, but I would love to see Pittsburgh and Baltimore on a Sunday or Monday night. I'd love to see San Fran and Seattle. That just sounds like a Sunday or Monday night. But instead, we're going to get Dallas at Philly and Tampa at the Giants. What are your thoughts for Sunday Night Football, Dallas at Philly?
Yeah, well, the Eagles coming off that 1-point victory at home against the Giants. Both of those teams are miserable. And, well, the Cowboys got smoked by Washington in a game of two miserable. The Cowboys, they flew all the way from Dallas to kick a field goal. That was it. That's all they had. They couldn't do nothing. Dalton went out of the game. The team stood around and looked at him. You know, I'll tell you what, ever since I was in Pop Warner football, we got told your quarterback gets hit. I don't care if it's after the play or whatever. You make sure he's okay, and you pull the pile. You hit the guy that hit him if it's a bad play or something. You protect your quarterback, and if nothing else, this just goes to show the dysfunction in the Dallas organization. We've heard about stuff coming out about coaching. It comes down to players, and the players aren't playing. They're not motivated to play. Dak went out, and they threw their season out the window. Now, they weren't great to begin with before Dak went out, but now they got even more problems. But we're not going to let that affect us as fantasy football players. We're going to find the guys that are going to score some points. One of those guys is Zeke Elliott, number 10 running back. He's going to face a lot of 8-man box. Andy Dalton may or may not be available for this game. If he does clear the concussion protocol, well, he'll be the 27th ranked quarterback, so you know you're not playing him. Dak, of course, is still out. Might be Ben DiNucci, who finished up the game, the undrafted guy to James Madison. The odd thing is people say, what? Who? This guy's no slouch in the FBS championship. They lost to North Dakota State, and he was the quarterback of the James Madison team. So he's no slouch. And his first throw, he came out and threw it right away and threw it to Cooper. It looked great. He has a great arm, so hopefully they'll be able to put something together. Hopefully Cooper can do it again. He's number 13 on the wide receiver rankings. CeeDee Lamb, 24. Michael Gallup, a distant 50. And Dalton Schultz, number 17 tight end on the rankings. Going over to Philadelphia, Carson Wentz should have a field day against this Dallas defense. They're just not playing well. Carson Wentz, number 5 quarterback this week. He's out there in some leagues still, so check that out if you need a quarterback on a bye. Miles Sanders, number 11 running back. He should be back this week. Monitor that situation. If not, Boston Scott's the guy. But I think Miles Sanders is going to be back and ready to go. Number 11 running back, Richard Rodgers. Who? Richard Rodgers. Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. Neither one of those guys is going to be back before Week 10. Richard Rodgers has done well. He's the red zone guy. This is a guy who's going to score touchdowns for you. That's what you want. This is still a no-name, under-the-radar name, widely available before waivers this week. Number 6 tight end this week. Travis Fulgham. Again, who? Greg Ward. Again, who? These are guys that are trying to get it done in Philly anyway. We might see Jalen Reagor back. He's highly picked up across the wire. But I'm really still behind this Travis Fulgham. He's put together a great couple games here as a rookie and as a guy that comes out of a smaller school. This is a great situation for him at Old Dominion. Number 18 wide receiver, Greg Ward, number 56. I got to go with the team that has the better players. It's hard to find them. Don't get me wrong, but I'm going to take the Eagles at home.
Yeah, I got to take the Eagles in this game too. I mean, after what Dallas did. And you brought it into incredible perspective when you said Dallas flew all the way from from Arlington to Washington, D.C., to our nation's capital to kick a field goal. And they did it in the first quarter. So for 3 quarters, it was like, it's almost like you flew all the way over there and then your flight got delayed to come home because you score 3 points and then it's like nothing. It's like sitting in the airport all day on a delay. Dallas not getting it done, but Ben DiNucci, who I covered when he was at Pittsburgh, mind you, James Madison's where he transferred to. He spent a bunch of seasons with the Pitt Panthers before that under Pat Narduzzi, and I had him there. So, Ben DiNucci, shout out to you. Do your thing, brother, and have some fun out there. I got Philadelphia winning this game, but, Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper are worth the play. It is important to note that Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb both got targeted, but had no receptions in the game. Dalton Schultz had a little bit, I think 22 yards in the game. So Dalton Schultz is a tight end 2. Amari Cooper, still worth the play. Gallup and CeeDee Lamb are flex guys or wide receiver 3s for you, which probably puts them there on your roster. I like Zeke on the other side. For Philadelphia, Carson Wentz going up against this defense, I'll take it. I would also tell you Boston Scott, not a bad play. And Richard Rodgers, who used to be with the Green Bay Packers, is now getting the job done in Philadelphia. Travis Fulgham had 5 catches for 73 yards, and you know Carson Wentz is liking him as of recent. He targeted him 11 times in the game, targeted Richard Rodgers 8 times in the game. Fulgham caught 5 of the 11. Rodgers caught 6 of the 8. So that's something to have here. Boston Scott, Greg Ward Jr. both had reception touchdowns. Greg Ward, not a bad play as a flex emergency, but I like Boston Scott as well in this. So I think the value's on Philadelphia's side, and I agree with you, Mike. I think we got to go with Philadelphia in this game. Final game that we have here, Tampa Bay at the New York Giants, a game that'll be played inside of MetLife Stadium with a team that needs more life right now. Shout out Drake. What do you have for the Buccaneers at the Giants?
Yeah, well, the Buccaneers put on a clinic in Vegas. It was something else. I didn't think they had it in them, and sure enough, these guys made plays. Look, they're dinged up. Chris Godwin broke a finger, had to have a surgical procedure. He's out this week already, but he still caught the ball, and it didn't even look like he got injured on a play, but that's what happens a lot of times, especially when you got to put zip on the ball. Like Tom Brady still can at 154 years old. Tom Brady, number 9 quarterback on the rankings this week. Ronald Jones, number 21. And Leonard Fournette was back, and he looks great, both catching the ball and running the ball, number 26. So, again, pulling a little bit away from Ronald Jones, but I like that 1-2 punch they got there. Unfortunately, that's not great for fantasy players. Mike Evans, if he's going to play, dinged up a bit as well, number 22 on the rankings. Chris Godwin out. Scotty Miller, number 46. The guy who finally showed back up to the party, Rob Gronkowski, number 4 tight end this week. Look for him and Tom to continue to connect. Take a stab, see if he's out there. Put him on your bench if nothing else. But even if you have Kelsey or somebody, put him on your bench. But I'm going to tell you, he's probably snatched up by now because he's gotten people's attention. On the other side of the ball, the Giants, well, I don't have that much exciting to talk about here. Daniel Jones, number 24 on the quarterback rankings. Devonta Freeman's injured. If he plays, number 28. Wayne Gallman right now at 50, but his stock will rise, of course, if Devonta Freeman's ruled out. Darius Slayton, number 40 on the wide receiver rankings. Sterling Shepard should be back, number 42 on the wide receiver rankings. And Evan Ingram, number 11 on the tight end rankings. Again, it's just basic math. You look at who's got the better players in this situation. They're going to fly to New York, and they're going to put a whipping on the Giants. I got a double-digit victory for the Bucs.
Yeah, I don't think I mean, I would imagine that most people are not going to pick against Tampa in this game by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm going to go with Tampa as well in this matchup. I'm not concerned about it, when it comes down to it. Here's something interesting, though. Brett Favre, the most sacked quarterback in the history of the NFL with 525 times that he's gone down. John Elway had 516. Ben Roethlisberger has 511 times he's been sacked. Tom Brady, 508. So an interesting story on ESPN, and shout out to them for putting this out there, Jeremy Fowler, for the reality that Ben Roethlisberger and Tom Brady, it's longevity. And the fact, you play more downs, you play more snaps, play more years, chances of getting sacked are obviously higher. And they could go down as the 2 quarterbacks that have been sacked more than anybody, passing Brett Favre, who laid down on the field and let Michael Strahan tag him down as a sign of respect at the end of all this. So just something interesting here. Worth the play in the game. Tom Brady, of course, is worth your play in this matchup. Outside of that, when we look at the rushing attack, I know you mentioned Leonard Fournette, and Leonard Fournette's been one of those guys where I'm like, do I play him? Do I sit him? Do I play him? Do I sit him? How do I feel about him and going back and forth with it? Fournette had 11 carries for 50 yards. Ronald Jones had 13 for 34 with a touchdown. So, and Tom Brady had a touchdown too in the most recent game. So I think Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette, they're both kind of, running back 2s for you. You could play either one of them. I like Tom Brady, but I still think the jury's out about who the dominant back's going to be. Mike Evans, you got to go with him. Scotty Miller in this game is going to get some action. And, Antonio Brown right now is suspended, but he is a member of the team, which is interesting because he went to the Patriots and it didn't work out. So the fact that he's now with Tom Brady again is an interesting little piece here. But with Godwin out for this, Mike Evans and Scotty Miller are the guys to look to. Rob Gronkowski, we knew it would take a matter of time before they got back clicking again, and that time seemingly has happened. So you got to play Gronk. On the other side of it for the Giants, there's not, I mean, outside of Evan Engram, there's not a lot of value. So I would say Evan Engram's really the guy you got to look to. There's injuries to other guys. Devontae Freeman, he's injured as well right now. So it's really Evan Engram or bust on that side of it. Between the two teams that call MetLife home, the Jets and the Giants, there's one player that I would tell you to play amongst the 53-man roster and the 53-man roster. So of 106 players, and then you look at obviously less numbers of that offensively, Evan Engram is the only guy I would tell you from either team to even consider playing Tampa Bay by a landslide in this. Mike, with that being said, that is our take on this week inside of fantasy football for Week 8. This is the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly brought to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. If you are sitting home or you have an event or something going on, curbside pickup, takeout, or delivery, 315-487-2222. And if you'd like to use their private party room, you can call 315-487-2222 as well. With that being stated, make sure you find Mike on HallOfFameFantasyFootball.com, and of course find us both on the Winning Fantasy Football group that you can join for free on Facebook by searching for it in the Facebook search bar. Mike, with all that being said, thank you as always, my good sir, and I appreciate you, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Dan. Talk to you next time.
All right, so that coming from Mike Sofka here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I want to thank you all for being a part of this. With that being said, I want to thank you for watching the show today in its entirety. Video number 1 that featured Julian Wiggum in our midweek blitz, and of course, video 2 here featuring the Wildcat inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour and every fantasy team that is playing this week. Obviously, there are some teams that are on bye week this week, that being the Arizona Cardinals are currently on bye week with the Washington football team, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Houston Texans. Best thing that could have happened to Jacksonville right now was to have a week off. So, thank you to Mike, thank you to Julian, thank you to you, thank you to Cafe Kubal for being our studio partner, and make sure that you're watching and listening to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora during our normally scheduled hours every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, where you're watching and listening, and where you are listening on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. We appreciate you there. And, of course, you can search and find our shows in video and audio form on our archives by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. On Stitcher, Spotify, MixLR, where you're listening live, you can also find an archive. YouTube, iTunes, or Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. And, of course, you can ask Alexa to play the latest episode of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Thanks to our Central New York and Upstate New York partners, Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Club, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Avocolis. Use the promo code when you order online at myavocolis.com, AVS10, for 10% off of all online orders. That's AVS10 on myavocolis.com. Chick-fil-A Cicero, Honda City of Liverpool, Millhouse Market, Trapper's Pizza Pub, and Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn. When you go to maandpaspopcorn.com, whether you're getting it for in-store pickup or you're having it delivered to you, if you're out of town or you're just having it delivered to you because it's easy for you in town, you can get in touch with them by going to maandpaspopcorn.com and ordering using the promo code DT20, that's DT20, for 20% off of all online orders, DT20 at maandpaspopcorn.com. Have yourself a fantastic day, my good people. We'll be back here tomorrow with Papa Joe and a brand new guest to the show as well. Find out who that is. Find us on Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, Twitter at CallDT, and Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. In the meantime, God bless, no stress, do your best. I appreciate y'all. I'm praying and hoping for you all. And remember, we will get better, we will get through this, and God does never turn his back on those that he loves and those that he created. And he loves us all. So God doesn't turn his back on us. Believe that, know that, live that, have faith. We will get through this. I send my love to you all. Be good and have a great day. I'll talk with you soon on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora.